Okay, so first off we have the aardvark. Now there is a huge block of text, but please ignore that for now. So the aardvark's core mechanism or mechanic is that it starts off with 8 territories. Well, it doesn't start off with them, but it has a total of 8 territories that it can have any time. These aren't called territories, they're called burrows for it. So first off, the player has one main burrow. Let's say starting off here, they start the game off with this, right? That's their main territory burrow, so I just flip it upside down. Actually, to make it easier on video, here's a different color. Okay, so each turn, they can only make actions equivalent to the amount of burrows they have placed down. So on the first turn, they can only make one action. Now that does seem really, really weird, but to offset this and give them a decent early game, the aardvark gets to collect 5 cards at the very beginning of the game. And I didn't explain this last time, but the max amount of cards a player can have in their hand is 5 cards, but we'll explain that later, the core mechanics. And then out of them, they get to choose all the cards they want to keep. So right here, Savannah, they need Savannah and Termite or water card. So right here, they got an ant. Useless, so they turn that back in. Useless. And useless. So what they do is keep those 2 cards, put these back at the top, so they get to know the cards of the other players. And they start off their game with these 2 cards, an advantage versus the others. Now, one thing different between these and the other animals is that rather than being able to draw multiple cards in one action, for example, every other animal currently can draw 3 cards in a single action. They can only draw 1 card in a single action, given they have 8 total actions. So all they have to do is pretend I have infinite moves in this case. Move over there. Then they can spend one of these to build a burrow on the base they have, and then that immediately gives them another action that they can do. So go onto there, spend this, build a burrow, right? And then I can go ahead and draw a card as an action or whatever. That's the aardvark. Now for the crocodile. The crocodile doesn't really have any core features beyond it's just blatantly overpowered. So ignore this chunk of text because it's kind of weird. I'll explain it. The crocodile can only move on river spaces or coast spaces that touch a river. So right here, this jungle touches this river, and the coast, meaning it's viable. Meanwhile, the desert, it's on the coast, but it doesn't touch a river, meaning the crocodile can't go on there. Now, the reason for this is if you add all this up, they essentially can have a build, really insane builds. There's if I remember correctly, 14 health, 12 damage build, 22 damage, 2 health build, whatever. There's a lot of builds that have a ton of damage. And given that you can do more than one attack action per turn, that's pretty overpowered. So that's one of their debuffs right there. Another thing, the crocodile can move off to the coast wherever I have labeled bays or water bodies. That's one thing. Another thing, whereas it only takes 4 cards to level up, they cost 5. Now, given some playtesting that I've done, this does actually even out the game a little. So yeah, that's the crocodile. Not that crazy. Next up we got a lion. Now for the lion, the base mechanism or mechanic for the lion is that they have territory tokens, which is different from the aardvark burrows. The reason is, so the lion, let's say a player, they start off for some reason here. They start off with 2 territories, so, but they gotta be adjacent, of course. So let's say 1 here, then 1 here. And as they get more kills, let's say they get a kill right here. If they get a kill, the player goes somewhere else. Okay. Sorry about the cut. So if they get the player kill, they gain 2 more territories. The whole idea of these being territory tokens versus burrows is burrows can be broken. So for the sake of it, imagine these are burrows for a second. These can be broken, and this is still the main territory that the player has to go back to. But these being territories themselves, the player can go anywhere. They can respawn anywhere they want. So let's say this is player 2's base territory, so they got killed. Now let's say the lion is here, but then the player with the lion gets killed. Instead of having to go all the way back here, they can just start off right here if they want, or here, or whatever they want. That's one of the big advantages. Also, there's automatically a trigger where if a player walks into one of their territories, they can immediately go, if they want, to that territory. Obviously, the player still gets to maintain their turn. So the one downside of this would be, since this is still the player's turn and the player goes here, it's immediate kill. And then let's say the player does respawn here for their next turn, the player can just walk out, possibly, but something along those lines. So that's a free point for the player if it's like a game point or something. Yeah. Okay, next up is the elephant. Now the thing about the elephant is, let me get these tokens on here real quick. The thing about the elephant is, they also are a token-based animal, but they have these things called tusk tokens. Forget the name, it's just a weird name. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So each turn they do a non-aggressive move. So a non-aggressive move would be them not attacking an opposing player. So imagine they just move a space, or their entire turn they just draw or something. They gain a tusk token at the start of the turn. At the start of a turn. So every turn they just get a token. The whole idea behind these tokens is, let's say the players got like 5 tokens. Whenever in combat, these tokens directly translate into damage tokens. So let's say the elephant does like 2 damage, then you would add all 5 of these, meaning they actually do 7 damage. One thing about these is, after you use them, you're forced to use them. After they're used, after an aggressive action, either on your part or the opponent's part, these tokens get cut in half, rounded down. So 5, this will be rounded down to 2. Cut in half and rounded down. Yeah. These also act as HP tokens. So let's say an opponent attacks this player. So an opponent attacks the player, deals damage. Let's say they have 6 HP tokens. These will count as 5 HP tokens, so that's 11 total. 11 HP in total. So it's a buff. Same thing with that. They lose the tokens for next time though. So yeah, that is the elephant. Now for the final animal that we got the water buffalo. Now the water buffalo is slightly more complicated, but like this. So just randomly, let's say the first thing, with leveling, you got two options. So let's say your first option, you go up, but then you can just go down, right? So you don't have to go in a full HP build or a full damage build. You can switch between them. But with the water buffalo, you have to either do a full HP or a full damage build. Now, based on whichever build you do, you got a restriction on this. But more on the restrictions a little later. You have 15 tokens that you can spend on these two. And each, ignore the cost, it just costs 2 cards. So 2 resource cards that you're allowed to use. So here, just 2 plant resource cards, and here, 2 water or 2 plant resource cards, right? So imagine I spend 2 resource cards, I can use this, and that's a permanent buff. So a permanent max HP buff. Now the thing about this is, let's say the water buffalo player goes for a full like just an HP build. The max amount of tokens they can build into HP now is 5, and the rest have to go to damage. So if they wanted, instead of building first, they could go all in on HP and then just go build, or just refuse to build. They're forced to build damage now. So it's really a building based animal. Yeah, that's about it.